This presentation will cover an introduction to student loans and the basics of student loan repayment. The first step to understanding student loans is to identify which loans you actually have. The National Student Loan Data System can help you identify which federal student loans you have out in your name. These are federal student loans are the ones that you get after filling out your FAFSA. If you have a private student loan, these won't necessarily show up in the NSLDS. You can find these private loans in your credit report by asking your financial aid office or in any personal records that you may have. It's important to know which type of loans you have because there are different terms and conditions with federal versus private loans. For example, some loans accrue interest while you're in school. Interest rates may vary and your repayment options may vary. There are many different types of federal student loans. Some of these no longer exist, but we left them up just in case some of you may have a few of those. You'll notice that there are subsidized and unsubsidized loans. If you have a subsidized loan, that means that the government is paying the interest on it while you're in school. If you have an unsubsidized loan, that means that interest is accruing on that loan while you're in school. Each of these different loans also has different interest rates and your repayment options may vary. It's your responsibility to know that who your loan servicer is. A loan servicer is the agency responsible for your loan and is the main point of contact if you have questions about your loan. Some common loan servicers are Nelnet, Navient, etc. And it's also important to know that a loan servicer can change if your loan is bought or sold between different servicers. It is up to you to make sure that your loan servicer also has current contact information for you. And it's important to keep in mind that if you have more than one loan, you might have more than one loan servicer. In order to find who your loan servicer or servicers are, you can use the NSLDS website located at the bottom, or you can call Federal Student Aid at the number provided below. If you have a private student loan, then your loan servicer is the bank or financial institution that you used to take out the student loan in the first place. In terms of repaying loans, there usually is a grace period, especially with federal loans. You typically have 6 months to find a job, or 6 months to find a job after graduating, or 6 months after dropping below half-time before you need to start making payments. This is what is known as the grace period. Depending on your type of loan, you may still start accruing interest prior to the end of the grace period, even if you don't have to make payments. And it's also important to note that not all loans have a grace period. Some payments start immediately. That being said, you don't have to wait for the grace period to end before beginning your repayment. Exit counseling is required for all students who have a federal student loan. This provides important information to help prepare you to pay for your federal student loans. So with the first statement, as exit counseling is optional, that is false. It is required of all students who have federal student loans. The second statement, students who have received a loan under the direct loan program must complete exit counseling each time they drop below half-time, graduate, or leave school, is true. So if you drop below half-time or part-time status, you're taking less than full-time or less than half-time credits 1 quarter, then you go back, you have to take exit counseling. If you go back to full-time the next quarter, you're fine. But then if you once again drop below half-time, you have to take the exit counseling once again. There are many different options when it comes to repayment, and they all have different criteria for eligibility and pros and cons. For each of these repayment plans, you have to opt in Otherwise, if you do nothing, you're just put on the standard repayment plan. The main differences in all of these plans are the time that they are given to repay your balance. For example, the standard repayment plan has a 10-year repayment period, while others have a 25-year repayment period. Another big difference is the amount that you are expected to pay monthly. For the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, portions of the loans can be forgiven over time and for certain jobs, but this is not guaranteed, and there are a lot of conditions in order to be eligible for this option. You want to choose a payment plan based on your current situation, but you can adjust the plan as necessary, and it is important to carefully read the details. You can visit the website at the bottom of this slide to learn more. This is just an example of some differences between a few plans. As you can see, there are differences in how your monthly payment is calculated. In the revised pay as you earn, for example, in that first column, your monthly payment is 10% of your discretionary income, while with the income contingent repayment in the last column, it's 20% of your discretionary income. There's also different terms with loan forgiveness. With some of these payment plans, you're forgiven after 20 years of payments. With others, it's 25. It's important to consider all of these differences when you're choosing which plan makes the most sense for you. This is an example that was completely made up. But let's say Rudy Redhawk has $40,000 in direct loan debt with a 6% interest rate. His income is $35,000. He's single and lives in Colorado. His income increases 5% per year. As you can see, there are differences in the amount paid monthly and how long it would take to repay and how much would be paid total over time under each of these different repayment plans for Rudy's situation. The more time you have to pay, the more interest is paid overall. Usually, however, the longer you have to pay, the lower your monthly payment. Interest paid on student loans is tax deductible. Your loan servicer will provide a tax form at the beginning of the following year. There's also different student loan repayment estimators available on the web. You can use a website and type in your current loan amounts, which can be found when you log into the FAFSA with or when you log into studentaid.gov with your FSA ID, and you can put in the amount that you have borrowed, the interest rates, and what you will be expecting to borrow in the future. This is a great tool to let you know what a monthly payment will be under each of the different repayment plans, as well as provide you with the total amount paid over the length of your loan term. It's important to know that student loan interest is typically compounded daily. This means that you have a daily interest rate. So every day your interest is calculated, and whatever your interest is added to your can be found at the website linked at the bottom of this slide. You can enter into two different kind of statuses with student loans called deferment and forbearance. In order to defer or be on forbearance, your loan cannot be in default. When you're in deferment, this means that you're postponing your loans without accruing interest on your subsidized loans. On your unsubsidized loans, interest continues to accrue. If you're in forbearance, your interest accrues on both types of loan, and your accrued interest is added to your total loan balance. While you're in both of these statuses, you are not expected to make payments on your loans. And deferment and forbearance is better than defaulting but you can find more information about these statuses online. For most federal loans, you default if you have not made a payment in more than 270 days. This can affect your credit score and your loan can actually be sent to collections. It may also potentially affect your eligibility for future federal aid or your ability to take advantage of different repayment options. Your loan will also become due in full immediately, and your wages and tax refunds can be garnished. It's always better to contact your loan servicer and discuss options, which may include deferment or forbearance rather than defaulting. So if you have a hardship or are concerned about making payments, contact your loan servicer as soon as possible.